All right. So, first of all, should I call you Eva or Dr. Sweeney, or what do you?
Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
Eva. Okay, thanks, Eva. So, how did you learn anatomy yourself?
Myself, I studied in Galway, and I suppose I didn't do a medical degree. I did a degree in anatomy, and then went on to do a master's and did a PhD in anatomy. And I would say that when we studied anatomy, so we did oh, I don't know what I've done there. Sorry, but when we studied anatomy, we did sort of general science first year. Second year, we specialised. Specialised, I'd say. We did microbiology, anatomy, and zoology. So you kind of picked the subjects you were interested in.
Wow.
And then in third year, I did histology and embryology. In second year, I did histology and embryology. In third year, I did gross anatomy. And then in fourth year, we did sort of advanced anatomy, things like neuroanatomy and tissue engineering and like special topics in anatomy.
Great.
On a research project. So the way that we were taught, we did a lot of dissection projects for gross anatomy. In small groups of 4, we'd dissect a region and we'd make like a poster on the dissection. We had a lot of didactic lectures, but the lectures that we had were very good. And some of the methods they used, they would maybe have a tablet and they would write out their notes and kind of explain structures that way. We had some lectures that would just put up pictures and talk around them. We had blackboards, so they put up some resources on that, but maybe wasn't used very much. And then I suppose that's kind of how I was taught anatomy, but in terms of when I actually learned my anatomy, it was when I became a demonstrator as part of my PhD. So I suppose once you actually have to teach it, you have to really go back and know it inside out.
Yes, you do.
So for myself, for when I was studying anatomy, I would draw everything out. That's how I would learn.
Okay, so you use a mix of methods, would you say, between didactic and classical dissection? Also, kinesthetic, art-based methods seem to work for you as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would be quite interested in art, I guess. So that's how I learned most of my subjects, drawing out diagrams and pictures and things.
It is a very visual subject. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So thank you. Now I'm just going to try to understand a bit more about your role as an educator, Eva. If you could tell me what is it that you do? What best describes your professional practice at the moment?
So I'm working in Queen's and I coordinate 2 modules. One is the second year module in anatomical sciences, and this is for students studying a degree in human biology. So they have done some histology in first year and some sort of microbiology and biochemistry, and then when they come into second year, we give them a module on gross anatomy. They also study physiology, and they can select some topics that they're interested in. So research methods, what is the other one that they do again? Evolution is one, physiological measurement, and more biochemistry.
Okay.
So I'm in charge of, yeah.
Just to clarify, are you an educator on a medical degree or an undergraduate degree in another?
A bit of both.
Okay.
A bit of both. So I teach, that's kind of my main module, I guess, the anatomical sciences. And then I also teach on a master's for clinical anatomy, which is mainly for medics that are kind of intercalating, but they're doing an intercalating master's. And then I do a few lectures for second year medics. And I've also helped with demonstrating for the first and second year medics as well.
Great. And how often are you teaching anatomy? On a daily basis or weekly basis?
Well, that's kind of what I'm hired for, the anatomy side of things. So yesterday I taught 6 hours of anatomy. So today I don't have as much, and then I think on Thursday we have 3 more hours. And what else do I have? 1 hour, I think, Friday. Okay. But I suppose on average, maybe 9 hours a week.
Wow. Okay, great. And what level of learner are you working with? Is it mostly undergraduate?
Mostly undergraduate, I guess, in terms of the medical degree and the human biology degree, and then one class of postgraduate that are the masters.
Okay. And what qualifications do your learners receive?
So the anatomical sciences class, they receive a bachelor's degree in human biology. The master's class, they receive a master's in clinical anatomy. The 2 medical years, they get the MD, I guess, but I wouldn't have as much to do with their course as the other 2.
Okay. And how, in the medical program you're teaching on, just briefly, how are their years organized?
To be honest, I don't really teach a huge amount on the medical degree, so I don't have a coordinator role in those. So in terms of how it's organised, I don't have much to do with it. I just show up and give a lecture or give a lab when I'm asked. I think you probably got a lot of that information from my next door neighbour, Alexandra.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So she would have more to do with. She teaches more in the first year of the medical program. I just do the occasional lecture and lab, to be honest.
Okay. And the degree is then the first 2 years are anatomical basic sciences, and then they go into their clinical years. It's kind of, yeah. Okay. Great.
She would have given more accurate information than I would. I would, I do know it, but I don't want to say it wrong. They are changing the course as well.
She did say that, yes. So. Also, all this is totally anonymized, and these are scoping interviews for me, really. So they're exploratory, and it's very personal, very informal, and my data analysis is heuristic and iterative. So it's not fact. Sort of, it doesn't have to be immediately all facts and totally perfect, basically, and it will be anonymized. So.
Yeah.
And so, what are the methods of assessment that you use in your own teaching?
This is for the degree or just generally?
In general.
Okay. So we do spot tests, the kind of standard spot test. You have a specimen out and you ask a question, you get them to rotate in the circuit. I also have an assessment with my second year students where I get them to make Microsoft Sway, if you know that. And they've actually all just submitted this week, and they're really good. So as part of this way, they make a PowerPoint, which they voice over, and they record the screen. So they make a little video based on the topic. Also within this way, they embed a little quiz. So then the video, the sways are put out to their peers. Their peers watch the video, and then they test themselves with the quiz. And the student that has made this way can see how his peers have performed in this quiz, but it's anonymous. They don't know who exactly has done what.
Right.
And it's been quite successful. I've run it 1 year already, and they quite liked it. And some of the things that they turn in, some of the material is brilliant. It's really impressive.
I bet.
So that's an example of one. We also do an e-poster. So they do an e-poster using our large touch screens in the lab. So we did that a few weeks ago. They also do a group presentation project in histology. So we get them to pick a selected topic in histology. They work in a group of 6 and they present an hour-long lecture to their peers and a 40-minute practical. And it's all, well, a lot of it is peer marked. Some of it is moderated by us, but it was quite successful. We did that last semester. And in terms of anything else, we do get the master students to write reports, and we had them do a sort of standard posted section a few weeks ago as well. We get them to do extended questions coupled with a spot test, and I'm trying to think if we have everything else. I think we're written on the wall. I think that's pretty much it. I got them to do workbooks last year, but I ditched the workbooks this year because they didn't really work particularly well.
Okay.
So I've made the workbooks formative rather than summative.
Okay. That's great. And you offer a cadaveric module or year in your teachings?
Yeah, so the anatomical sciences module that I teach, the majority of the labs are dissection and prosection based. We have a few labs that are focused on microscopy, so histological methods and